Living by Design is partnering with the American Heart Association of Indiana to bring you our 5-part Healthy by Design COVID series. We're kicking it off with a powerful conversation with Dr. Virginia Kane, Director and Chief Medical Officer of the Marion County Public Health Department and an infectious disease expert.
We've been working on this for 10 years.
Coming up today on Living by Design.
Living by Design with host Cathy Holloway Hill. Cathy is a strong, powerful voice. She entertains, informs, and inspires her audiences everywhere she goes.
Hi, I'm Cathy Holloway Hill, and welcome to the Living by Design show. We are continuing our COVID series, and I am so pleased and so happy to have Dr. Virginia Kane, who is an MD, and she's also the Director and Chief Medical Officer for the Marion County Public Health Department. Dr. Kane, welcome to Living by Design.
Well, Cathy, it's always an honor to get a chance to have great dialogue with you, and I just appreciate the work that you do in getting the information out to our community members.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I also appreciate the work that you're doing, because being in the medical industry or the medical sector, the medical field, is not easy, especially right now with COVID going on and all of the lockdown and everything that we're had to endure over the past year. So we just really appreciate you taking the time to be part of this series, because it's very critical.
Well, thank you. You know, it's been some really hardships for especially people of color, people being evicted. A lot of our small businesses negatively impacted by this, and we've lost some businesses. And, our folks in the hospitality industry, when we had to do our stay in shelter, yes, and, putting restrictions on our restaurants, people coming in to the convention centers had to be restricted. It just really impacted us so greatly. And then we think about our children having to learn at home versus being in the classroom. It can be a difference depending on the student and the resources that you have.
That is so true. Very, very true. And I know that it felt like on many occasions, from my perspective, and I'm sure a lot of other people, that this is never going to end.
Let me just tell you, it was really tough at the beginning with this huge epidemic, and you saw large cities after cities, states after states, having us stay in shelter where, you could hardly go anywhere, and it was so restrictive. And yet we were seeing thousands of people die, being hospitalized, the intensive care units, our critical care beds all being filled. But we had something new happen with us with this particular infectious disease outbreak that we've never had happen before. And that is, for the people in the healthcare industry, we didn't even have sufficient personal protective equipment. So not having the masks available to us, not having the gowns and gloves that we should be using. So a significant number of healthcare professionals who put their heart on the line, front lines, we lost a number of them unnecessarily because of that lack of personal protective equipment. So we weren't not as prepared nationally as we should be. And, public health, we're supposed to prevent things from happening. So you don't always hear about us. So when you're eating out in a restaurant, and it's safe, it's because we're trying to do our job behind the scenes. You don't hear about us, okay? Right. You drink that water, And you say, oh, it's the water company making my water safe. They are, but we're the ones that have to inspect it and say they're doing the right job. And so whatever meeting you go to where they're serving food and safety, public health is right there along with you.
Yeah. And I just can't even imagine what you've had to deal with over the past year because of the way it has been politicized and the way it has been mishandled. And I'm not going to get into blame and pointing fingers and all of that, but I think the politics is just really, it's been too much of a part of it. The vaccines were rushed. And that's what I kind of want to talk a little bit more about today are the vaccines, because they have been rushed. Operation Warp Speed, the name in and of itself scares the heck out of people. And a lot of people are just reluctant. So I want you to just give us a little bit more insight into the technology that has been put inside these vaccines. How are they manufactured? How are they made? Because a lot of people are really fearful, one, because they were rushed, and two, because of the ingredients.
So one, and I never want to disagree with you, Cathy, but I'm going to give a different label as opposed to the vaccines being rushed. And a lot of people may not know, I got placed on a national federal committee by President Obama, and that national federal committee is on public health preparedness. And we have the people from what we call HRSA, Department of Human and Health Services, and ASPR, it's the department that oversees any major emergencies. So they have the military on this committee. They have folks from CDC that we helped oversee and coordinate. And there were folks from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, people from University of UCLA, University of Chicago. I was just, they had some of these big time experts on this panel, and I was just humbled to be able to be on that panel. And so what I want to say is the federal government has known for a long time from different administrations that something like this was going to happen and that we needed to be prepared for this. So we've been working on this. It's a new technology platform called messenger RNA. We've been working on this for 10 years. And we looked at that technology for Zika virus. We looked at it for Ebola virus. And we had some earlier ones that we looked at. And we have worked on this vaccine in a lot of animal models. But this is the first time we had an opportunity to use it on humans. But we've been working on it for over 10 years. So the fact that we put a huge push on this, normally in the past, it's taken us a couple of years to develop a vaccine. But what the industry did this time, and government paid them a lot of money to do this, they said, hey, we're not going to wait till it gets approved and then we start making the vaccine. We think our vaccine is going to be the winner. So we're going to start making the vaccine now. And then once it gets approved, I'll have millions of vaccine doses to give out. So if I had waited, which is the normal process we do, and start making the vaccine only after we get FDA approval, then we'd be starting from scratch making the vaccine. But we said, hey, and some companies, I'll be honest, they lost some money because their vaccine didn't work. And they had made all this production of vaccine. So we're not using those, that the efficacy, how great it works, we're not using those. But,
and Dr. Virginia, this is really, really critical. And I want to make sure we get all the nuggets, because this is the meat and potatoes. So if you don't mind, we're going to take a quick break.
I always enjoy the conversation with you. You really, you really ask those hard, tough questions that sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to answer, but I love you anyway.
Oh, thank you. We're going to be right back with more of Living by Design.
Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia Kane, Director and Chief Medical Officer for the Marion County Public Health Department. I'm also a former chair for the Go Red for Women American Heart Association luncheon. And so let me just say, with this coronavirus pandemic, we've lost a lot of lives. So it's so important to sleeve up and take that vaccination for COVID-19. Be safe. Save yourself, your loved ones, friends, and enjoy the rest of us getting back to normal activities.
Welcome back. We are here with Dr. Virginia Kane, and I am so excited about all this incredibly wonderful, correct information that she's giving us, because we have heard so many conspiracy theories. And Dr. Kane, you mentioned not wanting to disagree with me. Please do, because you really do need to straighten out all of the mess that's out there and all of the conspiracy theories and we need to get the story straight from someone who has, as you stated, been a part of this process. So please continue what we were talking about.
So the second point I wanted to make too was that the most people, probably the most savvy, most knowledgeable person about these vaccines is Dr. Anthony Fauci from NIH. And he selected, sorry, man, I just have to tell you, the women are the superior species here, but they selected a Black female, 35 years of age, Dr. Kamizia Corbett, as the top scientist for the NIH grant. So you had a Black female who was the number one person in charge of the vaccine. And so, she's been going to NIH as an intern in the summers, went there through college, finally got hired, and she's been there almost 9 years now. And for her to get that top position, making that vaccines, that's important. That we had a Black researcher. Now, people, when you bleed, you're in a car accident, you might need a blood transfusion. Do you know that a Black doctor, Dr. Charles Drew, discovered plasma? So everybody, when you're getting a blood transfusion, you're in an accident, this country wouldn't survive without blood transfusions. It was discovered by a Black male, a Black doctor who was committed to helping our people. That is the same with Dr. Corbett with this vaccine. She has been committed to helping our people. We've had we've had over 30 million cases of COVID in this country. Right. But we've also given over 8 million doses of this vaccine. Not a single person has died from the vaccine. And let me tell you, it has saved about 90% of the deaths from the people who've been vaccinated. So the people who've been vaccinated, they're not dying. And I saw a person, I was at the Eastern Star vaccination site, and one of our people of color told me that he was a male, that he was so glad to get his vaccination. His wife had just died about 2 months ago. And the vaccine at that time wasn't available to her. And she said that he just wished she had had the opportunity earlier to get that vaccine, because he felt she probably would be there now, alive, taking care of his grandkids and enjoying life. So get that vaccine if you've learned all the facts, understood why it's so important to get the vaccine, because I've got a few tips that I think you need to know about COVID-19, the infection.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Johnson & Johnson. What I know it's a one and done.
Uh-huh.
What type of technology is used for that vaccine?
It's something called an adenovirus type of receptor type of vaccine.
Right.
And we've used those type of vaccines before in the past and no problems whatsoever.
Mhm.
The other thing about Johnson & Johnson is if you've had severe allergic reactions, like anaphylactic shock, where your blood pressure just drops, and if you're not treated within 15 to 30 minutes, you could die. And so of all the 3 vaccines, that one is supposed to be less likely to have any serious side effects related to the vaccine. And now I took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, okay, because I'm just one of those, get that one shot and I need it to be over with.
One and
okay?
done.
Yeah, the one and done. So I love getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but that's just, that's me personal. If I can get away with one shot taking care of the job, why do I take 2? But the Moderna and Pfizer are supposed to have a 95% efficacy. The Johnson & Johnson is supposed to have a 72% efficacy, but all of them prevent 100% no deaths. There have been no deaths 100%, and the Johnson & Johnson prevents at least 85% of them even going into the hospital. So no, every one of those vaccines are great.
I'm loving everything you're saying, and I'm presenting some of the conspiracy theories, I really don't know what else to call them, that I've been hearing that are preventing people from getting the vaccine. And I really hate to say, but a lot of it is people of color. And they're the ones that are getting hit the hardest.
Cathy, you're so right.
Yeah.
So the Black people in this community, we're having twice the death rates compared to our white counterparts, our Hispanic counterparts, and our Burmese population that is now showing the most cases occurring with COVID in the community than any other racial and ethnic group, except for if you were white. So we have almost 3 times the hospitalizations, but twice the death rates compared to whites or Hispanics. And what that's kind of saying is there are a lot more cases of Hispanics than there are Blacks, but they are a little bit much younger generation. So the younger you are, you're less likely to die. And if you don't have chronic medical illnesses, that's what puts you at risk for being hospitalized and getting you in that intensive care unit. Heart disease, asthma.
But as you stated, we have several vaccines to choose from. I'm pretty sure these are the 3 that we're going to stick with, right? We're not going to bring on AstraZeneca or GlaxoSmithKline.
So I think there are going to be some additional vaccines that are coming on.
Okay.
So AstraZeneca may make it, but there's another vaccine, Neurovax, that's coming on. So that could very well come on before the summer. So I expect we'll get one more vaccine maybe by summer.
Okay. Excellent. Dr. Kane, we're going to take another quick break, but we will be right back because as you can see, we've got a lot more information coming. We'll be right back.
Living by Design is sponsored by the American Heart Association of Indiana. Help us ensure everyone in Indiana has the opportunity to live longer, healthier lives.
Welcome back. I'm Cathy Holloway Hill, and we are doing our COVID series with Dr. Virginia Kane. And Dr. Kane, let me just ask you this question. It's just a simple, basic question. I understand the concerns and the fears from the Tuskegee experiment many decades ago. Just talk to our viewers about your thoughts on yes, no, and getting the vaccine.
Well, I think the number one thing is enough time has gone by, so we've seen what the disease can do. And about 10% of the folks who get COVID-19 get these long-term effects. They call them long haulers, where they get these type of side effects that lasting weeks and months and maybe forever. And some of the symptoms are they get a chronic fatigue syndrome. They're tired, they're exhausted. Just even get out of their bed in the morning to make it to the bathroom takes so much energy out of them. So if you had a regular, whatever your regular job is, most of those folks can't continue their jobs because they're just literally exhausted and tired during the day. The other thing that happens a lot with them also, they get something called brain fog, where this virus, coronavirus, gets across the blood-brain barrier and it impacts your ability to concentrate. So say you went and bought some milk and gave a $20 bill, you would have a difficult time trying to calculate what your change should be. You can't remember folks that you've known forever, and you can't think of their name. You know, you might not even be able to say the name of your sister-in-law or brother-in-law, and you've seen them like every other weekend. And so those are the frightening things. You have depression. We now know that it can cause inflammation of the heart. And so athletes out there, when they get COVID-19, we have to be concerned about with this myocarditis, could they get early heart failure, like in their 20s, 30s, where we normally don't see that until people get into their late 60s a lot. So, and it can cause renal failure. Ladies, I love my hair. It causes hair loss. But you can also have chronic loss of taste and smell. Now, the smell, that's dangerous because you wouldn't be able to smell any smoke in your house if you were having a fire. You wouldn't know it. And we've had cases like that. So it impacts different organs of the body, kidneys, GI tract. And so you may be one of the unfortunate ones that are lasting for symptoms of, oh, my arthritis, the pain in my joints, or you may have chronic shortness of breath that you never had any problems with before. So I much prefer to get a vaccine that I may have some little minor side effects for maybe up to 18 hours or even 48 hours. You can get a headache from the vaccine. You can get muscle aches like you got the flu. A third of you may have a fever, but it's going to resolve within 48 hours. And if you take like a Tylenol or aspirin, you know, when your symptoms first start, hey, I had a sore arm. Took my one Tylenol tablet. I didn't take two, just one. My soreness was gone in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's great.
So, hey, be safe. Sleeve up. Take that vaccine.
Yes, yes. Now, can you go ahead and give our viewers information where to go? Because I know that's been a big confusing situation.
So if you can, call the health department, Marion County Public Health Department, 221-2000. We have a site that's over off of Commercial Drive in Lafayette Square Mall, and where we're open almost Monday through Saturday. We go until 7 p.m. at night, some of those days, not all days. And we're like Saturday, we're open from 9 to 1. But you have to pre-register. You don't have a computer, we got a call number. You can call us. And we will put the registration in for you. And we're going to open a new site. That's on the far west side. We're going to open one on the east side. I want to say, looking at the date, within probably within 2 weeks. But I have to wait and announce that new site.
Now, what is the website again where they can go and get all of this information? You just
So one, you can go to the Marion County Health Department website. Now that's a little bit more difficult for me to tell it to you, but it is www.marion for Marion County, marionhealth.org, and search for COVID vaccines. Okay. And the other place, if you want to be registered to get vaccinated by us too, do ourshot.org. .in.gov. Our shot, one word, .in.gov. And listen, for anybody Latinx populations, you can call us 317 221-2100. And if you're Latino, you speak Spanish, we got about 35 Spanish-speaking volunteers who will make an appointment for you to get vaccinated also within 2 weeks. So call us today, but keep looking for these announcements because we're going to continue to try to really help serve the people in our communities and try to bring the vaccinations to them as opposed to you always having to come to us.
Excellent. This is excellent. And so just one quick last question before we run out of time. Can you select the vaccine you prefer, Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J?
So here's the thing. Johnson & Johnson is kind of on very short supplies,
Okay.
but we're doing Pfizer at our site that's in Lafayette Square Mall on Commercial Drive. We'll be offering that Pfizer over there, and we'll be doing Moderna over at our new site that's going to open. Right now we'll have all 3 vaccines, but I may not always have all 3.
This is incredible, excellent information. Dr. Virginia Kane, thank you so much for joining us today. You have been a wealth of knowledge. Our viewers thank you, and I thank you. And we're going to sign off for now. I wish we could do a part 2 with Dr. Virginia, because she is just a wealth of knowledge. But we hope you join us next time for another empowering episode of Living by Design.